Call to order the special meeting for the Transportation Committee, Tuesday, May 29th, 2012. Ms. Secretary, Councilman Clowat's on his way. Mr. Melancon is absent. Mr. Ty, would you give the invocation followed by the pledge?
Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to come here tonight to make some very important decisions on our parish with infrastructure and roads. Just let the people give their input and let's listen to them and go forward with it. We ask this in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign up with Ms. Liz. Number 4, the presentation and discussion of the Parish Road Program information. Ben?
We have a PowerPoint presentation, and President Martinez is going to get us going on that once we get it pulled up.
We're going to go through, basically we're going to let you know tonight the purpose of this half-cent sales tax and what the program is going to be about. Going to talk about Ascension transportation improvements. Going to look at the current transportation program, funding for the transportation plan, a half-cent sales tax, and we're also going to look at the DOTD transfer program. And going to look at the proposed projects and the timeline of the program. The historical activity, basically, we've had enough money over the years to do maintenance on our roads, but we really haven't had a lot of money to do intersection improvements, do widening projects. We've done a few. We're working on Roddy Road right now, and you know, if you go back to the early 90s, I guess we had about 700 gravel roads in Ascension Parish, and as late, I'd say, as 1994. So we went to the voters back then in my first term and asked the voters to pass a half-cent sales tax, and we shared that with the fire departments. So we keep 2/3, and the fire departments get 1/3. And basically, all that money goes towards maintaining the current road system that we do have. And again, that's our current revenue sources for roads right now. And at the end of the year, what we do is, if we have any surplus monies left from our budget, we take half of that money and we also put it toward the road program. This year we're taking $3.5 million of that money and putting it on Highway 73 for a sewer program. And the reason we're having to do that is when you have using federal money, you can't have open ditch system. You have to have curb and gutter, and that's what we basically using the $3.5 million to put the sewer line down. Then we're going to be spending about, latest estimates, about $5 million on Highway 42 to put sewer. So that's all taking away from some of our maintenance money, but hopefully we can continue to maintain the system that we have. But with the growth over the past 10 years, growing by 40%. We're in the same situation as the school board. I mean, they have to build a new school, one every year for the next 20 years. So if they keep building and people keep coming, and when we had all these meetings for the master plan, everybody would say, well, we don't want any more growth until we have infrastructure. So this is an opportunity, hopefully, to present to the people of Ascension Parish a plan that will help that infrastructure along at a quicker pace. If we continue doing what we're doing, the only thing we're going to be able to do is maintain what we have, and maybe not do that adequately. So anyway, basically right now we're doing anywhere from a $2 to $3 million program a year, basically overlaying the existing roads that we do have. So with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Michael Sonji to give us an overview of the program and let us know the schedule and how we plan on spending this money, and we're also going to go over the state transfer plan.
Thank you, President Martinez. Okay. As he mentioned, we're discussing a new half-cent sales tax for the unincorporated areas of Ascension Parish. The municipalities will not be included. In addition to the sales tax, there will be what we're calling a gradual transfer of state roads to Ascension Parish, and we'll get more into the detail of the mechanics of how that will happen. And all of the projects have been identified based on not only our current needs, but our future projections as well. The sales tax would require voter approval. We are scheduled that for the November 6th election. It will generate about $8 million in annual proceeds. The bond experts tell us that that will produce up to $80 million in initial bonding capacity. That does not mean that we have to bond $80 million at one time, and we can talk about that further. It's also important to note that the way the bonds work, you have to leave about, I think it's 25% of your income in, you cannot obligate the full 100% of the proceeds to the bond. So you're going to have about 25% that's left in what we call pay-as-you-go funding. So over the course, I think we're saying if it were 20 years, we would be looking at approximately an additional $60 million in what we call pay-as-you-go funding. So it's not like all of the proceeds of the tax will be completely dedicated to the principal and interest of the bond. Okay, the DOTD Road Transfer Program, it is a little bit to grab the mechanics of this, and so we're going to hopefully slow this down a little bit for you and try to walk through it slowly so everyone can understand it. As we said before, DOTD will gradually transfer the roads to the parish. Their objectivity is to transfer to the parish those roads that they don't feel have regional connectivity or access to the industrial corridor along the river. So through several meetings and iterations with DOTD, they have identified the routes that they wish to transfer. They've identified the routes that they wish to keep. So we're trying to be consistent with their wishes there. The parish would receive financial credits, or what we call transfer credits, for the 40-year life cycle cost of the road. In other words, for each road transferred, they're going in and determining what their 40-year life cycle cost would be, and that amount is establishing the amount of the transfer credit. We're going to give you a very detailed list further in the presentation. The parish also has the option to receive credits for estimated costs of any improvements currently needed prior to the transfer. You're going to see in a few instances DOTD feels that certain improvements need to be made. We would have the option of allowing them to do it or the option of doing it ourselves, and we can talk more about that, but we really don't have to make any decisions on that today. We think that these credits will produce somewhere between 50 and 56 million in federal funds that will come through the administration of DOTD. So you ask, what are the benefits of the road transfer program? The parish can direct spending based on its own priorities. In other words, if we feel that it's better expenditure to maintain these roads and get the credits, then we can do that. If we don't, we can allow DOTD to do it. We can also leverage the credits it receives with the monies that are available from the proposed half-cent sales tax. In other words, and we talked about this last time, by having the sales tax in place, it allows us to have the 20% match where we can garner the federal monies for these projects. This allows DOTD to focus its resources on the major corridors, what they call the regional corridors. And once again, the transfer of the roads will be phased. We will not accept a road until it's ready to expend the transfer funds on a specific project, and I'm going to walk through an example of how that mechanically will happen. This is the list that you saw at some of the, or the map that you saw at some of the public meetings. The red are the routes. Can't get any more better clarity with that, but the red are the maps, or the roads that the state would remain under DOTD control. The green are the routes that they would desire to transfer to the parish. You could also note that in the municipalities, all of the lines are red because there was not participation as it currently stands with the municipalities on this program, but there certainly could be in the future. But all of the routes in green are the ones that would be deemed for transfer. I mentioned specific lists. This is a calculation that's actually come from DOTD. It's route by route, line by line. It gives you the amount of dollars that DOTD would transfer in credits for each specific route. So we just wanted you to know that this is not something that a number that's just been estimated or pulled out of the hat. This is an actual calculation coming from DOTD on the value of these transfers. And if you take that previous list and you summarize it, basically what they're providing to us is the 40-year maintenance value of these routes is about $46 million. This initial treatment, if there's some work that's needed, whether we determine that we want to do it or they want to do it, that could be worth around $6.5 million, 2.6 in bridges, $1 million in traffic signals, so the total comes to around $56 million. I'm going to try to walk through here kind of the, I guess, logistics or mechanics of how this may happen. So presuming that the tax passes, and let's say we identify a particular project. This is 431 at 621, and that project has a cost of $5.5 million. I'm just using this as an example and pulling a number. And we identify that we would like 80% of the funds to come through from the road transfer credits and 20% from the local sales tax. So what we would do would be to begin to expend money from the sales tax to do engineering right away and get these projects eligible for federal funding. At the point in time that the plans are complete, we reach an agreement with DOTD, we go to construction, the funds, federal funds are being spent, then basically there would be about $4.4 million in federal money for this project. As that money is expended, then we would begin to identify from that previous list projects that add up to plus or minus $4.4 million. We've listed 3 here just as an example. But the point of all this is that we're not going to take the roads back and then be looking at DOTD and say, when does the money come? We're going to expend the money to advance projects. Federal monies will come into the parish for those projects, and as that happens, we would be transferring certain routes so that the dollar amounts match. And all this would be done with an agreement with DOTD. It would be stipulated on the front end, the general intent, and I think we would have specific agreements. Each of those is going to come back to the council over time. But we're just trying to explain here how this is going to work, and I think what's important to understand is that you have to have the local monies to do the seed work to get the 20% match so that the federal monies can come. And that's what we're trying to achieve by putting these 2 programs together. So you say, why not only just do the DOTD transfer? First of all, the transfer funds are not going to cover any of the local projects. You'll see we have a lot of projects on the local corridors that we're going to be funding 100% of those. And simply the transfer program is just not sufficient funds to address all of our current and future needs. And it also ensures, as I just mentioned, that local funds are available to match with the federal dollars. Suggested projects. As you know, we've been working on this for several months. There's been a list of meetings between the parish and DOTD. We also have gone back to several of the previous plans. They're all listed there that have been done over the last 5 or 10 years. And we also have some feedback from the open houses that were held in the last 2 weeks. On the public comments, the overall findings from the comment sheets were very, very positive. 100% said improvements are needed. 89% believe the approach should be based on regional needs, which this does. And 97% believe that every effort should be made to utilize the DOTD and federal funding. We also were able to add some additional projects because of the input, 44 at Loose Moor, Weber at Roddy, and then there was some suggestions of some supplemental projects. We can talk more about the supplemental terminology, but we added a couple of projects there as well. So just to kind of lay out the projects and the maps, obviously what you see here is a map of the parish with Interstate 10 and Airline Highway, which will remain under state control. Then you begin to see the other regional corridors in green, that these would remain as state routes where the federal monies would be directed to. Yellow represents the local corridors that would, many of these are routes that either are currently parish routes or state routes that will become parish routes. The categories of projects, first is Airline Highway, a series of improvements up and down the Airline Highway along with 3 major intersection improvements. There will also be a batch of what we call local intersection improvements in the center part of the parish that are for the local streets. Regional corridor intersection improvements along that outer corridor, several bridge replacement and repair projects. And then there's also some DOTD projects that DOTD has identified that they will expend state money on. The importance of this is it allowed us to take some projects that we thought we were going to have to fund with local money. The state is now going to do them. I think that's around 10 to 15 million. It's really allowed us to expand our list of projects, and we'll get to that. So to kind of go through the projects in sequence, first is Airline Highway. Improvements on that corridor, and in the triangles represent the 3 major intersections where some large-scale intersection improvements would occur. Next are the local intersection improvements. If you notice, the strip of 44 is not included because the state funds are being expended for that. So we've really been able to beef up this list of intersection improvements on the local corridors. The next are the intersection improvements along the regional corridor. These are all would be in line for federal funding. We're certainly going to target those for federal funding. Our intention here on this corridor, obviously this is a very long-range plan. We want to start with the major intersections, get those right, and expand out, where in the future it will be much easier to basically fill in the gaps between these major intersections. Bridge replacement projects, you can see a number of those scattered throughout the parish. And then, as I mentioned, DOTD has around 10 or 15 million in some improvements on 44. A lot of those intersections themselves, I think it's 931 and also Highway 42 in the northern part of the parish. So that lays out, I guess, in a simple graphic, all of the projects that are proposed in the program. with the various different funding sources. Supplemental projects, as we mentioned, the bonds will fund about $80 million. There's going to be some pay-as-you-go money. We can't tell you exactly because that's going to depend upon how much tax is collected. It's going to depend on the cost of the bonds. But we do know that there will be some pay-as-you-go monies. You also have the ability or the circumstance where sales taxes could be greater than what's being estimated. So it's always important to put supplemental projects into the program. That way, if the financial situation gets better, you have some direction on where to spend those funds. So the supplemental projects would basically start to fill in on that outer corridor, fill in those gaps between the intersections, and also I believe we're proposing 621 in the east-west direction as a supplemental project as well. So this map shows you the combination of both the initial projects as well as the supplemental projects. Here we're trying to give a financial summary, and you have a hard copy. I'm having trouble reading some of that. Okay, what we're trying to do is to break these costs out on the left column, as I mentioned, airline, highway, regional corridors, local corridors, what the total of those projects are, what the contribution would be by Ascension Parish, what the contribution would be by DOTD. So under the primary projects, the total cost would be around $136 million. $80 million coming from Ascension Parish, $56 million coming from DOTD. Supplemental projects, we've identified another $158 million in projects. We're not saying that that would necessarily be funded. We want to have those projects out there. And then the bottom line is the $20 million in the state DOTD projects that they are committing to that really allow us to expand our own list of local projects, as I mentioned before. So this is just kind of a general financial capsule of everyone's contribution in the program. Okay, the timeline of events. As you know, we've held two public information meetings. The second one particularly was, I thought, very well attended. We got some good comments from the public. Tonight we're having the Transportation Committee meeting. June the 4th is the Finance Committee meeting, and to be brought to the full council June 21st. Should the council proceed forward from there, we're planning a series of neighborhood and council district meetings from August to October, basically to explain the plan to the public prior to the election on November 6th. So that's the timeline that we have laid out as we stand today. So that's the end of the presentation, and be happy to answer questions. Travis Woodard, project manager with me, can certainly answer a lot of the detailed questions as well, and Ben and Tommy and Ken, so we're all available.
Appreciate it. Any questions? Mr. Lambert?
Yeah, I got one just to start off with. I know, Tommy, you had mentioned maintenance. You know, we're spending $2 to $3 million. If we do this DOT road, transfer, we're taking in all these roads. I know we have some credits, but they're basing these credits on a 20-year life of a road, which that don't happen around here in Ascension Parish. And I guess what I'm saying is, I would personally like to see some of this half-cents go to maintenance. Because 20 years down the road, our kids, grandkids, they're not going to have any funds for maintenance of these roads. Yeah, we do maintenance our roads with $2 to $3 million, but we don't do what we need to do. We need more of that right now, because we have to turn some roads down this year that really need to be resurfaced this year, but we don't have funding there to do it. So I guess one of my biggest issues is that we do need some maintenance money that's not in this half-cent sales tax. That's one of my big issues on this program. We are spending all the money on intersection improvements, which is fine. I know that helps traffic flow. A lot of it I've been polling a lot of people, and a lot of people are, against spending parish funds on state highways, but I know we're going to have to do something if we're going to get it done. But, and then, like I said, pulling them all together, we just nowhere close going to have enough maintenance money 20 years down the road when we don't have any credits left coming from the state. Well, it's just parish. The parish took it, and the parish is not looking at any, capacity improvements on these highways. They're just going to improve the road like it is. The state told us that at one of the meetings that I went to, the first meeting, that capacity was not there in it. It's just to improve the road like it is. And that is our issue, capacity. So that's a couple of, I have a bunch more, but let's start it off with that.
Mr. Malonzo?
One question I had, and I came in a little late, so you might already hit this, but those credits that are coming as you take those roads in, that is the 56, correct? Yes. So it is all being spent on the front end, and like Todd said, there's nothing to maintain on it.
Credit to maintain it, what it would cost to maintain that road for 40 years.
Right, but the money that we're taking in those credits is being spent on the projects that are in this plan, correct?
Correct.
Correct. The money from the transfer credits would be applied to the parish's priorities for the overall network.
Right.
To answer Todd's question about the maintenance, we are currently expending all of our maintenance dollars every year doing maintenance, but we're moving towards a more structured approach to doing that maintenance. We basically wait for our roads to deteriorate, and then we have to do a full reconstruction or mill and overlay. By applying some more appropriate treatments to the roads throughout their life cycle, then we can gain some efficiencies in our maintenance dollars, and there's a lot of opportunity for that in moving forward.
But would that allow us to not only do what we're doing now, but also another 120 miles of roads with the money that we have now without anything else going towards it? Even with those efficiencies?
I don't have the specific numbers there, but there are some dramatic efficiencies available. And I've in reading some documentation from other municipalities that have gone to sort of a full approach of doing chip seals and crack seals and other maintenance things to extend the life of the existing road. They've saved 25-30% of their maintenance dollars, which they can then reinvest into the maintenance of their system, bringing the overall quality of the system up. And a better maintained system has fewer maintenance costs going forward. So the specific numbers on that, I don't have in front of me to present that, but that's something that we will be bringing forward in coming months to.
But the crack seal that you brought up, that's something that we've been looking at for years, and we hadn't moved forward on it. If it's going to help us that much, what is the hold up on that?
We're moving forward on it now.
Okay.
And there's multiple elements.
Because that has brought up several times at these transportation meetings about crack sealing to improve the roads and preserve them, because it definitely works.
Mr. Terry?
Okay.
Mr. Terry?
I didn't have any questions.
Mr. Cooley?
Yeah, real quick, Mr. President or whomever, the presentation that you just shown, based on all the improvements that we have, that is for the parish-wide, right? I looked at the map, okay? And it didn't look as broad as what I'd seen the other day, but it might have been out of focus, so all the improvements that you had, proposed improvements on bridges and on intersections.
Yes, it is parish-wide, and I don't know that much has changed from the public meetings other than the projects that we listed as, well, we showed you the projects that were added as a result of the public meetings.
Okay.
So
I guess the map I was looking at had Highway 22 and 935 on one of the improvements. I just didn't see that.
It may have been the map just showing the
Just right
routes
on
that DOTD is keeping. I'm not sure that it was one that was set for improvement.
All right.
I don't think 22 was ever in our in our plan.
Let me
Mr.
add-
President?
Let me add real quick that we'll make this presentation available to all of you this evening, and I'll get it up on the parish website tomorrow so that anybody can go download it and review it.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Go ahead, Ty.
I'm kind of like Randy, looking at the first meeting, I know we're trying to sell this project, and it's got to be a plan that the people got to trust us with. There's nothing on the West Bank, 0 improvements on the West Bank, so, you know, that's something we need to look at, whether or not we're going to get any support on this tax from the West Bank.
I think we had one road that would connect as a possible future corridor that would connect 3127 to LA1. That was the one that they had talked about at one time.
Okay, the meeting, you know,
So-
the map showed 0,
Right.
that's why I want to make sure.
So, but to answer some of your other questions, Todd, as far as moving traffic at these intersections, that's what, if you go to MPO, they saying that that's the best bang for your bucks at this point. Myself, a lot of people in this room, when you come down Church Point Road, you get the airline. If you got one car turning left, you go in the way. If you get the Supreme Chevrolet, you go down that road on Black Bay Extension, same thing. You go down the next road, it's the same thing. Now we just did the one by Post Office, that intersection, so that's going to help. And we're talking about 5 new intersections on Highway 44. That ties into a lot of our regular roads, our parish roads. So the bottom line is you can't look at these road improvements from a district standpoint, because everybody, if I come from Santa Monica every time, I'm going all the way to get to the interstate. I'm going through a bunch of districts. So any improvement we make to get along that route, we're going to have to that'll quicken your time to get there. So.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about any districts now.
No, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking about you. I just said, I made a point that we can't, from a perspective, look, because everybody uses all of these roads at some point to get from point A to point B. So, I was just trying to, I think, address Randy in some of these areas that may be some of the things.
Yeah, I just remember looking at the map in the presentation.
But we need to look at this. I mean, because if we don't do anything, we're not going to get any better. I can assure you the roads in the parish are not going to get any better by doing nothing. So, and you all heard what I heard when you went around running this time, and when the master plan meetings, everywhere I went, you heard the same thing. So, this is a plan that we put together, we went forward with. We've been spending a lot of time on it. I want to thank everybody that's been involved in it. And this is what we came up with. I think it's a good plan. I think it's not going to solve every problem in Ascension Parish. I mean, but you got to also look as far as maintenance. As time goes on, that tax is going to bring in more and more money, so you should be able to maintain more and more roads. And there's also going to be about 25% if you see you're getting behind. That's not going to be spent on the bonds that you can use on maintenance, so maybe that can be utilized. Some of that money can be dedicated to maintenance also. Plus the half cents. Now in 2016, there was some money that was bonded, I think in 2001, 2002, on the current half cent sales tax. That's going to go off the books, so that's going to bring another extra million, a little bit over $1 million that'll go into our program. So those are some things that hopefully can.
So you're saying there's going to be some money dedicated for maintenance?
I didn't say that. I said that it could be.
Okay.
You could take that money, and what he was talking about, the 25% that was left over that you couldn't bond, you might want to, you could dedicate some of that money if you would like to maintenance and cut down some of the program. So that's something that could be looked at in the program. So again, it's not going to be a 100% perfect plan, but it's better we got now, and I think it's going to do a lot of good, and it's going to help move a lot of traffic, and a lot of people are tired of sitting in traffic and traffic jams in that intersection. So again, we're going to keep working on it, and hopefully we can come up with something that the public can put the trust in, and we'll dedicate these projects in the proposal and hopefully get something done.
Mr. Malonzo?
Have we put any thought into where any additional funds might come for liabilities that we would bring in for this other 119 miles of road? Right now on these state roads, if you have something that doesn't get fixed, you have an accident or something, and a lawsuit's brought to the state, that'll all now be coming to the parish. You know, where are those funds going to come from? Have we put any thought into?
Well,
any of that?
anytime, in any road, you have a certain amount of liability. And a lot of times, it's not only the state that gets sued, the parish gets sued for
But
certain.
we're bringing it all on us
Yeah.
now.
But, you know, anytime you do anything, you'll have some liability. Now, I don't know exactly what the extent of our liability will be with this. Hopefully, it'll be better roads, and hopefully it won't be, but there's always going to be drive error, and there's always going to be some error. And so, I can't answer that, and I can't tell you that it won't add any liability. It certainly will, but hopefully it can improve the traffic and the movement and make our roads safer.
Any other questions? I had a couple, Donald, on the bridge replacement, I know we had the 2.6. I don't know if we're gonna need that much for some of the replacement. Are we gonna better adjust these funds back into the, back into improvements? Or would that money have to stay strictly for bridges?
I don't, first of all, it's not total replacement of bridges. It's basically just rehabilitation
Yeah,
to
okay.
get them, and that may be the same point that you were making. I would have to get an answer from DOTD if the money has to be spent specifically. I think they're going to give us the leeway to do what we want to do with them. It's just the way they calculate a transfer is there's certain money in the road, there's certain money in the bridge, certain money in the traffic signal. So we can certainly verify that.
Okay, appreciate that. If any other, no other discussion on this issue, we'll move on to number 5. You need to come sign in. And I apologize, Mr. Shakes, now do you, you want to speak on this one or the next, sign in and get your card to the secretary?
Yeah, my name is Ravi Pullapareddy. I am with the Baton Rouge MPO, which is the Regional Metropolitan Planning Organization. You had a question about maintenance, some of the maintenance funds on the roads.
Once the parish takes them over.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the maintenance
Some-
20
yeah.
years down the road, not,
Some of the state routes are eligible for federal aid under, like we get around 15 million per year to program.
Is that statewide or parish?
No, we cover the entire East Baton Rouge Parish and all of Ascension except Donaldsonville area and parts of Livingston and West Baton Rouge and a little bit chunk of Iberville Parish.
And that's matching funds? You have to match? to
Yeah,
get
there's
them 15
20%
million?
local match for that. And for the next 4 years, Ascension Parish submitted about 7 million or 8 million worth of maintenance projects. And most of them would be through into the program. So that funds will be available within these areas for maintenance and also for a little bit of capacity. Whether it'll come, I mean, it's distributed among these areas. So even though some of the state routes are being transferred to parish, if they were federal aid eligible under that funding program before, they would be eligible even if it is a parish road.
And what kind of guarantee we have on this funding?
Uh,
Down the road where, is it going to continue or is it going to be something like some of the state function, that's dropping out on?
that depends again on the transportation bill,
Right.
how it works out. But
So that
so
could
far,
change, that could change next
Tomorrow,
year or
yeah.
2 years from now.
yeah, but the metropolitan planning organizations or something are formed by, so we get certain funds
Yeah.
as per federal program. So I'm guessing it'll be there, but it may not be to that extent. But right now we can program like 15 million in our program per year, and for the next 3 or 4 years, Ascension Parish just submitted like 7 or 8 million worth of maintenance projects, and I think all of them would be through the program within the next 4 years.
Past President?
Appreciate that.
To expand a little bit on that, there's a lot of money that's eligible that in the past we haven't gone after. We meet on a regular basis now with DOTD, and I attend all the MPO meetings, and believe me, we've got a lot of roads now that in the program that weren't in there before. We're getting some lighting money for some of our parish roads that are eligible. There's urban system money, there's safety money that's eligible. So, I mean, to put a number on it, I can't put a number on it, but, I mean, there's going to be funds eligible, I would think, unless the federal government goes broke. But every year, the MPO gets X amount of money for safety, X amount of money for urban systems, X amount of money for lighting and all kind of different projects. But you got to be able to, you have to go over there and ask for it, and you have to have some projects ready to go. And that's basically what we've been doing the last 3 years. And now we're starting to see some of those benefits that we hadn't seen in the past. So we're going to continue doing that. But I don't think anybody can guarantee anything from the federal or state government at this point.
Mr. Jake Snyder?
Yes, I appreciate Kent Shakespeare, and I'm Councilman District 2, and I appreciate all the work being put out by administration, by the Transportation Committee. I think it's a great thing that we're moving forward and getting this infrastructure in. I just wanted to make sure there was emphasis put on, because like 42 has been such a underdeveloped road, and 73 and all of that. The area of Highway 44 from the interstate to the river is very, very, very critical, especially with the things that are coming now from, even though Nucor's in St. James Parish, the tremendous traffic and truck traffic and everything that's there, the building now from Edenborn, the school systems putting some things there, and the improvements at Ormet and Traffic Era and all of that is leading to a road that is very, very, very dangerous from the interstate to the river. And we just want to emphasize that that we have this in there, and some improvements in that road. So I want to just make sure on the record that that it's being looked at, and we're aware of the conditions there. That's it. Thank you very much for everything you're doing.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Cloy?
Just real quick on the whole thing on the half-cent sales tax and on the DOTD right-sizing or taking in the roads, the local roads. We don't get a lot of opportunities like this. Everybody's been fighting traffic for a long time, probably 20 years or better. We've got to go forward. We've got to get some money. We need some financing to be able to do some real improvements around the parish. I know, Todd, y'all worried about maintenance. We, like I said, the 25%, we can sure peel some maintenance money off for that. But all of our, to key in and get this federal money is the key on the DOTD side. That's who's got the money. That's where it comes from, the feds. And just to have the matching funds, it's hard. It's hard to pull up 20% of any major project. It'll burn our budget we got right now on any one project to even try to scrape up a little bit of 20%. So the parish is not getting any smaller, and the population is not decreasing, especially on the east side. Traffic's getting worse. We got to get something in place for the future, like for our grandkids and things like that. We got to put something down and get it going. And we are taking advantage, I believe, of something in dealing with the DOTD that maybe other parishes are not. We've got opportunities out there. And I think the relationship with the MPO and everything, and the administration's relationship with the DOTD and state government right now, it's working in our favor. So we need to just take a serious look at this and take a positive look at it and see what we can bring of all this. So that's all I got.
And also would like to commend DOTD. I mean, they've had a lot of good information at these public meetings, and I want to thank them for attending also. We'll move on to number 5, recommendation of contract approval for overall project, visual data, support, and website. Ben?
Yes, in working with DOTD and CSRS and the parish, we've generated a lot of data in this contract with hire someone to help present that data to the public in a format that's a little more user-friendly. And so we're asking for a recommendation from you to go out and get somebody on board quickly so that we can start getting this information out.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Casso. Any discussion? None, motion passed.
Motion adjourned, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert to adjourn, second by Mr. Melanson. We adjourn.